Hello everyone, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the beautiful circuit of Ricardo Tormo here in Valencia in Spain, where unbelievably the 2023 season gets underway already. The gap between the end of the season and the start of the next one seems to get shorter and shorter every single year. But what a delightful place to come to launch the Ferrari Challenge Europe season for 2023. We are here in Valencia in Spain, where the sun is gorgeous. There's not even a cloud in the sky I can see from our commentary position here. Up high in the race control building, this is precisely where we are then. And please, we urge you to become part of the family. Follow us at Ferrari Races. And there you can see, so step one of our calendar this year, which will also take in Misano and Spielberg and Le Mans and Estoril and Spa. And of course the finale mondiale to come in Mugello this year. So a very, very exciting season in prospect. And there you can see the very man that this circuit was named after, pictured on that building. Now the weather conditions, as you can see, air temperature is already 17 degrees. It's quite early. It's just ahead of 9 o'clock local time here in Spain. Track temperature 15 degrees. And the cars will be out on track very soon to get their qualifying underway for our Trofeo Pirelli category. And for them to be able to set the time that will guarantee their grid position for the very important race to come this afternoon. So alongside me is Nico Spalek. Welcome, Nico. I said that the gap seems to be getting smaller and smaller between the end of one season and the start of another one.
Yeah, it feels like it. It is very, very good to be back in the paddock, to meet everybody again. And it feels like very short and a very long time since we got all the drivers and everybody back. And as you said, it's a family, and it's a family reunion.
And joining the family this year, delighted, Nico is alongside me as always, but down in the pit lane in the hot seat, as it were, is Ludovica. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Dave, and good morning, Nico. Good morning to everyone. We are here in Valencia at Ricardo Tormo circuit, one of the most popular tracks on Spain. The Ferrari Challenge Europe is about to begin, and everything is ready for the 31st edition of the Ferrari Challenge, but is always ready for the first qualifying practice of Trofeo Pirelli. As you can see on my left, all the teams and the cars are ready to back in on track to try to get the best lap to take the first pole position of the season on the track. And in the paddock there is a great and competitive atmosphere, and is a good weather. The sun is shining on the circuit of Valencia, and the big question for this morning is who will take the best and the first qualifying and the first pole position of the season. We will find out together very, very soon, and this is all from the track, and back to you guys.
Thank you so much, Ludovico. Welcome. Delighted that you are part of our on-air team across the course of this, what will be a wonderful season. Now, as Ludovico mentioned there and alluded to, we have some returning drivers, some brand new drivers. And as we were listening to Ludovico, we could see Lucky Kerr, who was getting ready for his qualifying. Now, let me just explain that Lucky has competed for many, many years in the UK series of the Ferrari Challenge. Of course, we should remember there are 4 regions across the Ferrari Challenge. Whether that be Europe, which is where we are today, or Japan, or indeed the UK and North America as well. Lucky Kerr has a 2-time champion in the Ferrari Challenge in the UK and has decided to stretch his legs into the European Series for a full campaign this year, so we wish him well. This is one of our new drivers, Armin Arfpour, and I hope the Riller and Schnaut driver's pronunciation from me was good enough. There is Philippe Pret. Now, Philippe is, as you can see, 104 years old, and Philippe has raced not only in the Ferrari Challenge Europe, but also in Asia-Pacific as well. And here we can see Nick Haller with that absolutely extraordinary colour scheme on his car. We've said many times, Nico, when you have the blank canvas of a 488 Challenge Evo to work with, there's some beautiful art.
Yeah, definitely. And this cartoon style, colourful day glow scheme on the number 81 car certainly ranks very high on the evocative end of the spectrum.
The Nico use of adjectives, evocative, to describe the car that we were seeing just a few moments ago is a word that I would have used as well. It is. It's absolutely gorgeous. But right now, all of a sudden, we're already 45 seconds into this qualifying session, and we have but one car out on track, and that is Armin's car from Riller and Schnauk, as you can see, who is a new driver into the Ferrari Challenge. What's going to be the strategy, Nico? The temperature during the course of this qualifying session will evolve, both ambient temperature, but more importantly, track surface temperature. Driver's going to leave it until later in the session, going to come out early, have a break in the middle. What are they going to do? Yeah,
the first qualifying session of a weekend is always markedly different from the second one.
Right.
Because today the drivers will sport new tires, and oh, there's quite a bit of smoke already at the very start of this session. So the tires are going to be new. The track, it didn't rain, so the track is fairly rubbered in, but certainly it's going to evolve, as you say. So we do expect, with temperature and track condition, the best times to come towards the end of the session. So again, you can see how much smoke comes up there, and that's...
Is that tyre smoke, Nico?
Yeah, it has to be. And
he's just locking up, going into the turns.
Not a good sign, certainly. Anyway, we do expect at the sharp end of this qualifying session to be the best times, but we've seen it time and time again.
Yep.
Gravel beds, red flags can really, really upset your quali strategy.
Talking to someone that we're not going to upset, this is Franz Engstler, German. Therefore, his beach towel was on his seat very early on this morning. He drives with car number 1. Now, he drives with car number 1 in Trofeo Pirelli, and by dint of the fact that, of course, last year Franz Engstler was Copa Shell champion. And talk about hit the ground running. He came into this series, and to be fair, Franz Engstler has got a lot of racing experience. Across multi-categories, including the Halo DTM, and France used all that experience in what is the most wonderful GT car, and he had a brilliant season. He took the championship, and of course, as is often the case with the excellent way that the Ferrari Challenge works, if you become the Copa Shell champion, you immediately get elevated into Trofeo Pirelli. Think he might find it a bit harder this year?
Well, certainly you would expect on paper to be that a step up in competition, but he was so dominant, with all due respect to all his competitors, including Axel Sartingen, who we met on the track yesterday during our track walk, and he held his hands up and said, I did my best, and I held him for half a race, and then he overtook me, and once he was gone, he was gone.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't put it past France. He certainly has the ability, the determination, and he's got 1 year of experience in the 488, which is not going to be a detriment to his chances to compete for the title. Definitely we will have 2 new champions in Trofeo Pirelli, both in AM and Pirelli, because Ange Bardi, who took the championship in AM, is no longer here this year. He's doing other racing, and therefore he won't defend his title. And also Dorian Penn, who took the title in Trofeo Pirelli, is not here to defend her, so that crown also is vacant.
And it's really interesting that you mentioned those 2 champions, and we should explain, if you're new to the Ferrari Challenge, that we have the AM drivers and we have the Pirelli drivers. The AM drivers you can identify because they have the white strip across the top of the windscreen, and the Pirelli drivers have the red strip across the windscreen. But in terms of those champions that Nico was alluding to last year, they were both either end of the age scale, that's for sure. And one of the curious facts from last year was that when Ange Bardi first took a championship win in the Ferrari Challenge, Dorian hadn't even been born. Now, Ange won't thank me for saying that. He's just a wonderful, wonderful man and a wonderful driver, but just proving that, you know, he can still deliver when it comes to a car. And we're going to see him during the course of the season. He may not be in the full campaign, but for sure we're going to see him. And I very much look forward to that. About the only driver, as we look there at Alessio Dono, the only driver that is out there on track at the moment is one of the new drivers to the Ferrari Challenge, which is Danilo Del Favero, who has gone fastest so far with a 1:46.759. This is the number 81 car of Nick Haller, then, the one that we were waxing lyrical about the livery across that car because it looks absolutely awesome. And he is driving for the Riller and Schnauk team. And Nick Haller then has put a time in the book. It's a 1:54.451. And I can also see that Lucky Kerr, I can see from our timing screen, has just come out onto the track. And now, as you can see, Nick Haller is on something of a mission here. Whilst the track is relatively quiet, to try and put in the best time he can. You can see that the S1 box on the graphics at the bottom of your screen has turned purple. Now, if the box turns purple, it means he has gone through that sector quicker than any other driver. Now, appreciating there are only 2 drivers out there on the track at the moment, that has not been too difficult for him to do, but it'll be interesting to see what he's able to deliver for his Sector 2 time as well, and whether that box turns purple also. And we will see the Riller and Schnauk driver then giving his 488 Challenge Evo everything around this this track. The number 81 car driving in the Pirelli Am. Target time cumulative is 1:12.057. And as you can see, he lost significant time through Sector 2 relative to where he needs to be. So this may not be quite such a blistering time that I anticipated. Where were we at last year in terms of times, Nico?
Somewhere else, but the last time we were here in Valencia,
yes.
sorry Dave, was 2021, and pole time in Pirelli was around 1:35.1, so we're still a little bit away from that, and not surprisingly in the early goings, and we haven't seen one of the Pirelli class drivers out there attacking the apexes in the way that you would for a pole lap. So, and I think that's a very good indication of where we are in this qualifying session. There is still time to rest, time to focus.
This is a driver I'm very much looking forward to seeing, Simeon Ladniak, who has raced in many other categories, and I've come across him more than once. He's racing for Goman Scuderia GT in Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli this year, and I predict he's going to be very much one to watch. So Danilo Del Favero, who is the driver that we're looking at the moment, is the fastest so far, and as you can see, is going still quicker because he has lit up purple Sector 1 and Sector 2. And here, heavy braking as you turn into this. And when we were doing our track walk last night, you don't realise quite how you're running downhill there. And you need to scrub that speed off. Let's see what he does. He breaks the timing beam then. The laser image is cut to the favour of a further second. So 1:37.724. And there we can see Alicia Dono then getting into the car, ready to get out there on track. The number 19 car. Interesting logo on the driver's door, I noticed there. Anti-smoking therapy. I'll be maybe having a word with him in between the qualifying sessions. Now, here's a driver I predict good things from. Lucky Kerr then, who drives for the Grey Paul Birmingham team. And Lucky is such a good driver. He really is. So Lucky will be very interesting to watch during the course of this qualifying session to see what he can deliver. There he is then. Sector 1, Sector 2, Sector 3 is just using this as a bit of an installation lap to get his eye in, if you will, for the qualifying session to come, of which there is still only there is now only 21 minutes left, and we've only really seen 2 meaningful lap times, Nico.
Yeah, indeed. And there, as we can see, Lucky Kerr break the timing beam for the first time, which is not going to be a significant time. It's a 1:46.976. Talking about that final turn of the lap, which, as you said, it really goes downhill, and then it is a very sharp left-hander. You don't quite appreciate it from the TV pictures how much of a turn that is. And this is really one of the spots on the track where you can see tire degradation, because if you've got a fresh set of Pirelli P0s, they afford you perfect grip, and you can make that turn, hug the apex, and come around tightly with a lot of momentum. Once the tires go off, this is really where you start sliding, and you have to really be conscious about how much grip you're still afforded. And that's where you can, within that one turn, you can lose 3 or 4 tenths just because the grip for the very tight line isn't there anymore.
Fair point. This is Max Micheli. I had a lovely conversation with Max yesterday for Eureka competition, and Max's wife as well, and lovely people. And Max, who of course is based and lives in Mugello, hence the name, Mugelli. There we are, as we look now at another new joiner, Thomas Fleming, driving for HRO in FF Corsa. And he will be driving the number 5 car. This is or was the number 10 car that we were looking at of Kim Eriksson for Formula Racing. As Lucky Kerr now has done personal best through Sector 1 and Sector 2. As you can see, he's third fastest at the moment, but still more to come from Lucky Kerr. That you can have no doubt whatsoever. That will the time will continue to come down. We're now into he's brought the car into the pit lane. Bit more smoke as we can see a car off here, Nico. That is the number 88 car of Amin Arifpur. And was that the car that was showing the smoke earlier on, Nico?
Yes, I think it was.
That is just an enormous lockup, isn't it?
Yeah, and if you look at the tyre
it
there,
looked like it was turning left, didn't it? The wheel.
Yeah, and we've got a red flag, and we were talking about it. Red flags can upset strategy in qualifying. Now, with 18 minutes and change, it's still very early in the session. But
it's nearly halfway, mate.
True, but I don't think we caught out many drivers who were basically on their flying laps.
No, I agree with that.
But going back to that Armin Arifpur visual of the wheel, it really looked like it was odd, and the car didn't follow the tracks of the wheel. So certainly something for the Riller and Schnauk team to look into before the race later on.
Inevitably, yes. This is the man that is provisionally pole. Danilo Del Favaro with a 1:37.724. It's in truth the only meaningful time that we've had. He drives for the Penske Sportwagen Hamburg team. As Nico has said, we've got a red flag brought about by the number 88 car of Armin Arifpur, going straight on into turn number 1, the Jorge Martinez Aspar turn. Instead of turning left, and therefore we have the session red flagged. This allows those 3 drivers that have been out the opportunity to come in and to reset. Of course, for all those other drivers, it just gives them a little pause when they were hoping to get out on track. And here we can see some of the images that have been brought about from our first session of qualifying today. This, the number 81 car of Nick Haller then. So, with the red flag flying, we can go down to Ludovica, who is in the pit lane for us.
Hi, Dave. I'm here with Max Mugelli. Max, what do you expect from this first qualifying session?
Yeah, yesterday was the first section for me in this season without winter test. I am enough satisfied. My target is the second row. I try to do a little bit better, but for me it's okay.
And Max, you yesterday and today tried the circuit. In your opinion, what is the hardest part of the track?
Sorry, what?
What is, in your opinion, the hardest part of this track?
Yeah, no, the conditions are good. The track is nice. And the grip, obviously, now the temperature is perfect, so I think is a good situation for the quality.
Okay, Max, enjoy. Back to you, Dave.
Thanks, Ludovica, doing a great job down there in the pit lane and getting Max Mugelli before he's even gone out there on the track. Well done, great work. Max Mugelli, of course, like all the drivers, Nico, experience here at the Circuit Ricardo Tormo in Valencia, they find what is actually a very, very technical circuit. It's, it's one that is not, I'm tempted to say, following our track walk yesterday, it's probably more technical than I'd ever given credit to. There are elements of the track that are not flowing. There are elements of the track where you have to be hard on the brakes. And there are elements of the track where it really, really narrows if you want to keep on the optimum line, Nico. And what amazed me during our track walk yesterday was just actually how abrasive the track is. And we saw, huge clumps of rubber that had come off the Pirelli P0s that had been cast aside, just proving that the track is quite abrasive.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you look at the track map, you've got a relatively long home straight, but other than that, there is really not any part of the track where you have some reprieve or time to relax and refocus. You're really always constantly on it, and even the straights, the back straight has a kink in it, and by the time you've out-accelerated the car, you're through the kink and you're already in the braking zone for the next turn. So it's non-stop. It does make for a very, very difficult place to overtake, and we've seen that in previous years, that it's very tough to overtake, which again heightens the importance of qualifying, because when you're down the grid, you don't have Norris ring-like hairpins, which allow you an overtaking opportunity every 20 seconds. It's really difficult here.
Champing at the bit to get out is Gianmarco Marzioletti for Radicchi Automobile. And there you can see the session is going to restart in just a few seconds' time. And it will get all the drivers back out there. All of a sudden, there will be a renewed urgency to get out there on the track. We are about a minute away from this session restarting. Dennis DeMarco then, who has yet to show. We're yet to see a time from him. And in fairness, Nico, we've got, you know, some 15 or so drivers that we're yet to see times from. So it is all of a sudden, what is critical in qualifying is finding track space so that you can make the circuit your own and you can own the circuit. When you've got 15, 16, 17 other cars out there, all of a sudden the optimum line that you're looking for, somebody may be giving you two fingers and saying, you're not going to have that line because I'm out here on track as well.
Well, and it's, as we've seen many times, and it's not about necessarily someone giving you two fingers. It's just about that driver being there in that specific position, and he can't, or she can't, just disappear into thin air.
No.
And 4 kilometers is a long track, but when you've got speed differences of about 100 kilometers per hour, those 4 kilometers all of a sudden condense quite a bit. And we are back green, and effectively, I think it's fair to say,
Got 15 minutes.
You got 18 minutes to do, and once you've completed your outlap, you're exactly right, you're about 15 minutes, and none of the drivers have put in a lap time that they will be happy at the end of the session. So
I agree.
It's basically back to square one, or square zero, or square Pirelli P0, or whatever you want to call it. We're into
already so early in the season. You are
clutch.
You're dealing with the Queen's English in such a way that I'm in awe of you.
Wouldn't it be the King's English now?
It would. However, of course, it was always Her Majesty the Queen's English. So, Valencia, 14 turns, 9 left-handers, 5 right-handers, 4.005 kilometers. And as Nico quite rightly said, we are going to have effectively 15 minutes of real track time by the time people have been out and done their installation laps. We're looking at James Owen then in the all-yellow 488 Challenge, Evo for Meridian, Modena and FF Corsa. Great to see so many British drivers taking part in the European Challenge as well, because there is no question about it. If you race in the UK Challenge, to come into the European Challenge, as Lucky Kura has done, the competition will be a bit stiffer, won't it? Because you know, just the sheer volume of cars and the eclectic, if you will, mix of nationalities of drivers, with some with great experience and some without so much experience. You know, it's just such a great series, and of course, it's a series where you can really make your mark in motorsport. Let's not lose sight of the fact that what can we do? Go back 4 years, and a driver that was racing in the Ferrari Challenge and became champion in the Ferrari Challenge is now a driver in the hypercar for Ferrari for this season. There you go. That's what you can achieve.
Nicholas Nielsen, we're talking about. He was Pirelli champion in his rookie season, and as we saw, see here, Franz Angster, who basically took the livery of Thomas Neubauer, I think.
You're right. You're right.
Made it his own, almost. It's not quite fair, and obviously the blue, white, and red are very much part of the Angster trade.
Team Angster, yeah, right.
But yeah, I mean, we've seen that progression time and time again, and Nicholas obviously is one of the key poster children, men by now of that progression. But we've seen many others who've made their way through Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli into the higher echelons of racing.
Yes.
And that is part of the appeal of this series and this paddock, where you've got gentleman driver, lady drivers in the very best sense of the word, And you also have those aspiring talents who still go on to have even more impressive careers off of the challenge.
You're right, you're right. It's a fantastic series and one that has played service to so many drivers. So we're watching Franz Hengstler then. As you can see, the track is beginning to busy up now. As we look at our track map, which we have the benefit of seeing here in our studio, as we see the Hanno Laskowski car, new livery for Hanno for this year. Hanno is a driver that's always there or thereabouts and is going to be one to really keep an eye on during the course of this season. I can't help but feel that Hanno will have come into this season feeling that perhaps he has unfinished business from last year. Racing this year for ML Fry, Nico, which of course is a very, very famous name in terms of motor dealerships and also motor racing. Danilo Del Favero still at the top of the charts at the moment with a 137.724. Expect those numbers to come down. You can see them on the left-hand side of your screen as we consistently and constantly update the graphics and keep you abreast of everything that is going on out there on track. We're being joined as well by the likes of Philippe Pret, the returning Nicolo Rossi. Delighted to welcome to Ferrari Challenge Kim Eriksson. And not only that, Mohammed Hamdi for the Ez Al Arab Automotive Company will be joining us out on track as well. Andreas Berg Sorensen is another new driver, although he made his debut in the Winter Series in Dubai and Abu Dhabi earlier on this year. But we're watching Alessio Donna now for Radiki Automobile. Alessio is one of those drivers, Nico, hugely talented, irritatingly young, irritatingly fit, and can drive this thing like a demon. We saw flashes of it last year. I rather think we're going to see even bigger flashes of it this year.
Yeah, 100%. And it was his rookie season last year, and he went to a lot of tracks that he didn't know necessarily, especially outside of Italy. And at the end of last year's calendar, we had the fixtures in Imola, we had the fixture in Mugello, and all of a sudden you could see, oh, there is some track knowledge, and he was, in relation to the other drivers, half a second, a full second quicker compared to the previous events. And that's, I think, where you can see this year, with more experience in the car, with more experiences on the track, he will be one to reckon with in this championship.
As you were talking about him, he sliced 2.2 seconds away from the next fastest driver in this qualifying session. Incidentally, that driver was Hanno Laskowski. He's just been ousted by Dennis DiMarco, but Alessio Dono is 2.2 seconds quicker than anyone else out there on track with a 135.448.
And that is the first time that we can see that is competitive compared to the last time we had a pole session, which was, remind you, a 135.1. So now we're getting into range of times which we expected to be on our timing screen come the end of the session. So this is really one, and now we can see more purple times on our timing screen. Max Mugelli being one of them, Dennis DiMarco being another one, and personal bests all across our timing screen. So expect improvements to be fast and furious on the left-hand side of your screen, and watch the car in the middle of the screen, because there is Dennis DiMarco. A little bit of traffic ahead of him, and that may compromise this lap with 12 minutes remaining in this session.
Let's see. Alessio Dono then is the quickest. Hanno Laskowski is second fastest. Danilo Del Favero is third fastest. Now, what's interesting about this qualifying so far is we're watching Danilo Del Favero, and now we're watching Dennis DiMarco. What's fascinating about this session so far is that the fastest driver is Alessio Dono, who's a Pirelli driver. You've then got a queue of 5 Pirelli AM drivers who are the next fastest drivers. So going to be very interesting over the next 11.5 minutes to see how this plays out, and just look how busy it is out there on track. And this is one of the big concerns when you leave it late into the session. Things can happen, and invariably do, as we have seen, as all of a sudden, I was just mentioning the fact that we've got 1 Pirelli driver in the top, but now there are 3. All of a sudden, they are Alessio Dono, Dennis DiMarco, and Max Mugelli. Max Mugelli then, a feeling that he's got plenty to give in the car, and it was great to hear him talking to Ludovica earlier on. So let's see. Hanno Laskowski then is the best of the AM drivers. Alessio Dono, this man, is the best of the Pirelli drivers. And now, Nico, he's going even quicker, because he's done a purple sector in Sector 1 of 21.806. Let's see if he can maintain that trajectory. He does across Sector 2, and look at this. He's not improving his time by 100ths or 1000ths. He's actually taking big chunks of time. He's 6/10ths up on this lap. So, you know, it's not unreasonable to say that this couldn't end up in the 134s, Nico.
It should, by all accounts it should. No traffic ahead of him, and that means he's heading for the timing line. A 134.413 is blitzed everything, has blitzed the history books, and he is our clear 1.8 seconds quicker than anybody provisional pole setter. We have other drivers on improvements, Frank Angster being one of them, and there he goes across the line. Still 1.4 seconds off the Dono time, but in Pirelli AM, clear and obvious provisional pole setter himself. So good lap from him. And we have more drivers to come as Henry Laskowski has a lap taken away due to track limits. I think this is the first time that we've seen this particular monster rear its lap time eating head.
Well, we were seeing Franz Engstler there, who, as Nico has said, has gone fastest, and we're on board with him now. He's gone fastest for the Pirelli AM drivers. And of course, there's a huge age difference between Eliseo Dono and Franz Engstler, of probably best thick end of 40 years. But well done to Franz, champion in Copichelle last year. Can he make it double bubble this year? Well, as you can see, he's at the moment on the right on the back bumper of Mohammed Hamdi. Mohammed Hamdi, you can see through the windscreen here. I love this onboard shot. Thanks to our guys in the OB truck for giving us such brilliant images. And he dives through on the inside, Nico. This is just a qualifying session. But of course, every centimetre of tarmac which is optimised is good news for Franz Engstler. That's why he wants to get past that car of Mohammed Hamdi.
Yeah, especially he wants to be past him by the end of this lap, because that will allow him to have clear tarmac ahead for the next one. I don't necessarily think he will have an improvement in him for this lap, but the next one, which he will start in about 5 or 6 seconds, is where he will look to make his mark. Another one who's very quick currently is Dennis DeMarco. Very good first sector, just 1/10 of the Eliseo Dono time. There you can see Franz Engstler has made the overtake before the timing line, and that means this lap is the one where he's going to go again with, well, pretty much exactly 8 minutes remaining.
Right, as we continue to enjoy this qualifying session, let's go back down to the pit lane, and great work from Ludovico. What you got for us?
Hi Dave, I'm here with Carlo, Eliseo Dono's engineer. And Carlo, I want to ask you about the first crash on this qualifying session that happened this morning.
Yes, we saw a car that has got a small problem with the braking. I think maybe ABS failure. So he blocked all the 4 wheels and went straight in the corner number 1. Luckily no damage and everything was fine. We just had to stop over a couple of minutes and everything was fine.
And the last questions, Eliseo, how is going today?
No, it's going super well. Now I just made a 34.4. That is the new lap record for Valencia. So we are all happy here in AF because Eliseo is a young driver and the beginning is fantastic. So keep finger crossed for the race and for the next rest of the season.
Okay, thank you for your time, Carlo.
Ciao, thank you.
Thanks, Ludovico. Then new lap record then for the Valencia circuit with regards to the Ferrari Challenge. And great. Whoa! Franz Engstler getting very sideways there, just losing the back end of the car on his quest, and that will have really nosed up this lap for him, Nico. And that's really unfortunate. You can see it cost him 2/10. He was on something of a charge, to be honest with you, but that probably didn't help him. Let's take a look. Great replay, great work. There you can see, just missed the apex. Front end of the car sliding, then the back end of the car gets out of shape. He piles on the opposite lock to control it like a rallycross driver. And through the turn he comes, knowing that that has cost him significant time on that lap. And the thing is, Nico, it's risk-reward. Because every lap that you do out there on track, you're taking rubber off of those Pirelli P0s, which have got to run the race for you.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's where...
There's Luca Engstler, forgive me interrupting you. He is son of Franz and acts as driver coach. Like he does know what he's talking about, does young Luca. He's a pretty good driver himself, not a bad peddler.
Yeah, I understand he's going to have a very significant racing engagement himself this year in a certain German-based GT3 racing series, and following in his father's footsteps also in that regard. There is Szymon Ledniak, who you were extolling the virtues of, our
Great
Polish
driver.
entry.
Great driver. I've seen him, and I've really admired some of his racecraft. I think he's going to be one to watch this year for Gome and Scuderia GT. Time will tell if my prediction is accurate. Most oftentimes it's not, but I think he will be one to watch. The order is Alessio Dono, setting a new lap record here in Ferrari Challenge at Valencia circuit, followed by Franz Engstler, the best of the Pirelli AM drivers. The next best Pirelli AM driver, incidentally, is Philippe Pret, the Hong Kong-based driver who's raced in the Italian series, the European series, the Asia-Pacific series and the Outer Space series. I mean, he has just done everything. He's a really good driver, and we're looking right now with this lovely onboard shot of Thomas Fleming, who is new to the Ferrari Challenge this year, bringing his car back into the pit lane, and
or actually might be coming out of pit lane.
I'm not sure actually where he was on the track, Nico. Just seeing from that onboard shot, I think he was out there on track somewhere, but perhaps he was just biding his time, looking for track space.
Yeah, and we can see the first cars, including Franz Engstler, who have decided that they have finished their qualifying. And we go down to the pit lane once again with an update from Ludovica.
Eliseo, we are here on the track. You registered the best lap this morning. How is going your qualifying?
I am so very happy for this qualification. I love this track because it's the same with the kart, but the team is very competitive. Now I'm focused for tomorrow for the race 1.
And Eliseo, can you tell us something more about your strategy on the track?
Yes, the strategy is the start very well, and after before I wait for the temperature, the track, and the fast the lap.
Okay, thank you for your time, Eliseo. Good luck.
Thank you, Ludovica. Great job. Well done for getting up, catching Alessio Dono as he was straight out of the car. I have to say, I got this impression last year. He's a grumpy little individual, isn't he? But a darned good driver. I mean, he's so young, Nico, that he's still carving his way in this wonderful sport, isn't he? Love him to bits. Boy, he is quick, and he's proved that today with a 1:34.413. That's not just a few tenths quicker than somebody else out there on track. It's a full darn near second and a half quicker than anybody else, Nico. That's a huge margin.
Oh yes, and it's not something that we generally see in the Ferrari Challenge, not even when we have dominators like we had Michel Gatting or Dorian Penn in previous years. 1.4 seconds is virtually unheard of, and Hanno Laskowski, he is third in class in Trofeo Pirelli AM. He still wants to cut into the lead of those who are very far up the road. Right now, Franz Engstler, Pirelli AM driver, on the first row of the grid.
Yes.
Which means he'll have a few Pirelli drivers as cushion behind him in class. And Hanno Laskowski is one who will try and get on terms with Franz. You would think so.
Oh, without question. There is Franz Engstler out of the car then. And there is Luca, his son, who belts him across the head in admiration at the old man who's still able to turn it around. There's Nicola Rossi. Great to see Nicola Rossi back in the Ferrari Challenge this year. He is by a long shot one of the really improved drivers over the last couple of years, and he took podiums last year and a win last year, and it was richly deserved. He works so hard at his racing, Nico, taking on data and listening to his engineers and also his coach and such like. And this is James Owen then for Meridian Modena, who is putting in personal bests across Sector 1 and Sector 2. Now he is sixth fastest in class with a 1:37.730. Let's see if he improves. Indeed he does. He moves up 2 places to fourth fastest. This is a good showing for James Owen. Well done, James. Really impressed with you.
Yeah, definitely. Very good. And looks like he's still going for another one. Hanno Laskowski, meanwhile, is also showing us on an improvement after the first sector. Second sector wasn't quite up there, so that's not going to happen on this occasion. We're less than a minute away from the end of the session, or at least a minute away from the clock's hitting quadruple zeros. Obviously, as always in qualifying, you can still finish any lap that you have started with any sort of time on the clock. So it doesn't necessarily mean when we had hit zeros, the session is over. But based on the track activities, I don't see the furious flurry of quick improvements at the end of this session. This may be the exception. This may be the exception. James Owen, who's still throwing the car through the turns, looking for maybe even of a improvement on the very, very final stages of this qualifying session. Great camera work here, allowing us to follow the car through that extended hairpin. Certainly the cars coming back upon themselves here in the second sector. This actually is the biggest climb that we encountered during our track walk yesterday, towards that final descent here, the final turn.
And interestingly, I felt, Nico, during our track walk yesterday that actually, you know, the track on TV looks quite undulating. It's less undulating. is that a word? I mean, it's less up and down than I expected when we did our track walk, as the checkered flag comes out, which brings the session effectively to an end for those cars that have crossed the timing line. Now, of course, if you're still out there on a lap and you'd crossed the timing line before the checkered flag came out, you can still proceed with that lap. And proceeding at a fair rate of knots is Hanno Laskowski. Here we can see the number 85 car rounding the final turn now here at the Circuit Riccardo Tormo. It's Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli qualifying as he crosses the timing line now. And does he improve? Does he heckers like? So it's third place effectively in cars for Hanno Laskowski. Philippe Pret, who very quietly just went out there and did it in terms of second in Pirelli Am, as we see Alessio Dono then collecting his award for being the fastest driver out there on track. Mr. Casalacci there, driver coach, offering congratulations to his driver. Nice to see some spectators here at the Circuit Riccardo Tormo as well. So, yeah. Nico, once again, a qualifying session with a bit of drama in there for good measure, with a red flag. And, yeah, very much tantalizing with regards to the race to come a little bit later on today. This, then, is our driver that has given us pole position for Radicchi Automobili, Alessio Dono, driving car number 1 in Pirelli. But in Pirelli Am, it's this man, Franz Engstler, that we can see with the all-new livery for 2023. The livery once sported by one Mr. Thomas Neubauer, as Nico quite rightly said. But it is Franz Engstler who, with a 1:35.830, gave us pole position for Pirelli Am. For the Pirelli drivers, it is this young man for Radicchi Automobili, Alessio Dono, with an unbelievable 1:34.413, the quickest we've seen a challenge car around the Circuit Riccardo Tormo. Well done, Alessio. Well done, Franz. What a race we've got in prospect this afternoon. Make sure you join us for the race to come for Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli. From Nico, from myself, and from Ludovico. For the moment, bye-bye.